Strip this bitch, the words echoed through the abandoned warehouse like a death sentence. Kira Ashford's head throbbed vision blurry from whatever they'd used to knock her out. The metal chair bit into her wrists. Zip ties. No paracord. She could feel the weave against her skin. 8 men formed a semicircle around her. The spotlight above cast harsh shadows across their faces. At the center stood a man in an expensive suit, completely out of place in this rust and concrete tomb. Vance Blackburn. They called him the Viper on the streets of Reno. Drug lord, human trafficker, a cancer that had spread through Nevada like wildfire. I said strip her. Vance's voice was ice. I want to see what makes a Navy SEAL so goddamn special. A man stepped forward, tall buzz cut, the kind of military bearing that never quite fades. Garrett. She'd seen him 3 days ago at the bar. Former Army, dishonorably discharged, the kind who wore his service like a badge, but had betrayed everything it stood for. Kira's training kicked in before conscious thought. Her eyes swept the room in microseconds. Garrett, 3.5 feet, right-handed, Glock 19 on his hip, favoring his left leg, old injury. Wade near the door, 25 maybe. Newer to this, nervous energy, AR-15 held too tight. Cole by the window, silent, scar across his left eyebrow. Former mercenary, if she had to guess. The most dangerous one here. 5 others scattered throughout the space, various armaments, various skill levels. Exit north wall, 12 feet up, rusted fire escape visible through broken glass. Time since capture, approximately 4 hours based on the position of light through the windows. Late afternoon, February cold seeping through the walls. Her shoulder ached where they'd tackled her. Her lip was split. She could taste copper. But her pulse was steady, 58 beats per minute. They had no idea what they'd caught. Garrett reached for the knife on his belt. Boss wants a show, he said, grinning. Let's see if the famous Angel is as tough without her rifle. Angel, the name sent a chill through the room that had nothing to do with the temperature. She saw it in their eyes, the momentary hesitation, the flicker of doubt. Someone here knew exactly who she was. Someone had done their homework. Before you do that, Kira said, her voice cutting through the warehouse like a blade, I want you to know something. Vance raised his hand. Garrett stopped knife halfway out of its sheath. She speaks, Vance said. He walked closer, dress shoes clicking on concrete. Please enlighten us. Kira met his eyes. No fear, no pleading, just cold calculation. I've killed 47 men, 12 of them with my bare hands. The closest was 2.3 seconds. She paused, let it sink in. You're standing 3.5 feet away, Garrett. I need 2.3 seconds. The silence stretched. Garrett's hand trembled slightly on the knife handle. Vance laughed. It was a sound without humor. Big talk for someone tied to a chair. Is it? Kira tilted her head. That paracord you used, 550 rated, tensile strength of 550 pounds. But the knot, she shifted her wrist imperceptibly. That's a slip knot, modified bowline, wrong application. If I rotate my hand 47 degrees and apply pressure at the base of my thumb, I can create 3 millimeters of space. 3 millimeters becomes 6. 6 becomes 12. 12 becomes freedom. She saw the doubt creep into Garrett's face. Good. And once I'm free, she continued, voice never rising. Garrett goes down first. Disarm throat strike, take the Glock. Waited by the door. I'll put 2 in his center mass before he gets that AR up. Cole by the window, he's the real threat, but he's backlit. I'll have a half-second advantage while his eyes adjust to... Enough! Vance's voice cracked like a whip, but she'd gotten to him. She could see it in the tightness around his eyes. He pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, waited. The phone rang twice before someone answered. Is she ready? The voice on the other end was male, older, rough, like gravel. Vance turned the phone around. Video call. The screen showed a face that made Kira's blood turn to ice. 73 years old. Weathered skin stretched over a frame that still carried military bearing, despite the years. Gray hair cut high and tight. Eyes like blue steel. Medals and honors that would fill a wall. General Frank Ironside Dutton, Green Beret legend. 3 tours in Vietnam, Panama, Grenada, Desert Storm. The man who'd trained an entire generation of Special Forces operators. The man who'd taught her father everything he knew. The man she'd called Uncle Frank as a child. Hello, Kira. His voice was gentle, almost sad. It's been a long time. Her world tilted. This couldn't be real. This had to be some kind of mistake. General Dutton, her voice cracked despite her training. Sir, there's been this is a misunderstanding. These men, are working for me, he finished. I know exactly who you are, Angel. Kira Lynn Ashford, 28 years old, 5'3", daughter of Master Chief Dane Phantom Ashford, Navy SEAL Team 18, 47 confirmed kills. The best sniper the Navy has produced in 20 years. Each word landed like a physical blow. You killed Ricardo Hernandez in Culiacan, Mexico, June 14th, 2022. 1,400-yard shot. Clean kill, him and 3 bodyguards. JSOC called it a perfect operation. Kira's mind raced. That mission was classified, beyond classified. How did he? Ricardo was the eldest son of Miguel Hernandez, head of the Sinaloa cartel. Miguel has been looking for you ever since. He's offering $5 million for the person who killed his boy. Alive. He wants to watch you die slowly. Dutton's face filled the screen. No emotion, no regret. I'm delivering you to him tomorrow. In exchange, I receive $2 million. A finder's fee, if you will. The words didn't make sense. Couldn't make sense. Why? It was all Kira could manage. Money, sweetheart. Why else? Vance interjected, smirking. But Dutton's expression flickered. Just for a moment. Something deeper than greed. You wouldn't understand, he said quietly. Your father might have. But he's been dead for 12 years, 14 hours earlier. The morning had started like every other. Kira's alarm went off at 04:30. She was awake before it finished the first beep, a habit from 8 years of military service that she'd never shaken. Probably never would. The cabin was cold. February in Lake Tahoe meant single digits at night frost on the window's breath misting in the dark. She rolled out of bed, feet hitting the worn wooden floor. The chill shot up through her soles. Good. It meant she was alive. 20 minutes of stretching. Her shoulder, the one that had taken shrapnel in Syria, protested. It always did. She worked through it. Pain was just information. Information could be managed. By 0500, she was running. 5 kilometers through the forest trails, boots crunching on frozen earth. The lake was a sheet of black glass to her left. Above, the stars still burned in the pre-dawn sky. No moon. Good conditions for an operation. Except she wasn't operational anymore. Hadn't been for 8 months. The thought sat heavy in her chest as she ran. She'd left the teams in June of 2025. Honorable discharge. Full benefits. A Medal of Valor she couldn't talk about for a mission that officially never happened. And nightmares that woke her up at 0300, drenched in sweat, seeing the face of a 16-year-old girl through her scope. Syria. March 2024. The girl had been strapped with 20 pounds of C4, headed straight for a refugee camp. 300 civilians, women, children, elderly. Kira had made the shot from 800 yards. Perfect placement. The girl had died instantly. The refugees had lived. But Kira saw that girl's face every time she closed her eyes. She finished the run at 0530. Back at the cabin, she showered, dressed, made coffee. Black, no sugar. Habit. The cabin was small, 1 bedroom, living area with a wood stove, kitchen barely big enough to turn around in. But the walls were solid, the roof didn't leak, and it was hers. Paid in full with her discharge bonus and 8 years of hazard pay she'd never had time to spend. On the mantel above the stove sat a single photograph. Master Chief Dane Phantom Ashford. Dress whites, trident gleaming on his chest. Eyes the same gray-green as hers. Smile that could light up a room. Died October 17th, 2014. Kandahar Province, Afghanistan. IED. His convoy had been returning from a village meeting. The bomb had been buried in the road. 14 pounds of homemade explosives wrapped in artillery shells. He'd been 41 years old. Kira had been 16. Morning, Dad, she said to the photo. Same thing she said every morning. Still here, still trying to make you proud. The photo didn't answer. It never did. By 0700, she was at the makeshift range she'd built in the woods behind her property. 200 yards of cleared space. Targets at 50, 100, 150, and 200 yards. Homemade steel plates that rang when you hit them. She unpacked her rifle from its case with reverent hands. Remington 700, custom built, Macmillan, a 5-stock, Krieger barrel, loophole Mark IV scope. 45 years of design refinement. Still the gold standard for precision. This particular rifle had been her father's. He'd left it to her in his will. For when you're ready, the note had said. She'd been ready at 18. Made it through BUD/S, basic underwater demolition/SEAL training at 19. One of only 3 women to pass that year. The instructors had tried to break her. Some of the male candidates had been worse. But she'd had her father's rifle waiting for her at the end. That had been enough. Now she loaded 5 rounds. Lake City match. 168 grain, same rounds her father had used. First shot 50 yards, dead center. Second shot 100 yards, dead center. Third shot 150 yards, dead center. Fourth shot 200 yards, half-inch high. She adjusted. The fifth shot rang the steel perfectly. Breathing. That's what it came down to. Not strength, not even aim really. Breathing. Heart rate. The space between seconds where the whole world went quiet and there was nothing but you and the target and the physics of the shot. Her father had taught her that. So had General Dutton. The memory came unbidden. Summer, 2008. She'd been 10 years old. Her father had been grilling burgers in the backyard of their base housing at Camp Pendleton. The smell of charcoal and lighter fluid. The sound of crickets. Her mother had been inside making potato salad. A truck had pulled up. Old Ford F-250. Dusty from the road. The door had opened and out stepped a man who looked like he'd been carved from granite. Phantom, the man had called. Her father had looked up, seen him, and his whole face had transformed. Frank, you old bastard. They'd embraced like brothers. Hard slaps on the back. The kind of greeting between men who'd bled together. Kira, her father had said, waving her over. Come meet someone. She'd approached cautiously. At 10, she'd already learned to read people. This man was dangerous. Not in a bad way, in the way a sleeping wolf is dangerous, all that coiled power just waiting. This is General Frank Dutton, her father had said. He taught me everything I know. Frank, this is my daughter, Kira. Dutton had crouched down to her level. Blue eyes studied her with an intensity that should have been uncomfortable. Instead, she'd felt seen. Your daddy tells me you want to be a SEAL, he'd said. Yes, sir. Why, Queen, she'd thought about it, really thought. Because somebody has to protect the people who can't protect themselves. Dutton had smiled. That's exactly the right answer. He'd stood, extended his hand. She'd shaken it. His grip had been firm, but not crushing. Respectful. They'd stayed for dinner. Dutton had told stories. Vietnam, Panama, Desert Storm. He'd made war sound like duty. Honor. Something noble. Before he'd left, he'd pulled her aside. You know what separates good operators from great ones? He'd asked. No, sir. Good operators follow the plan. Great ones know when to throw the plan away and trust their gut. Your daddy's one of the great ones. I think you will be too. He'd reached into his truck, pulled out a K-bar knife in a leather sheath. This was mine and Nam. I want you to have it. Not now, you're too young, but your daddy will keep it for you, When you make it through BUD/S, it's yours. She'd treasured that promise more than anything. 6 years later, her father had died carrying that knife. 2 years after that, she'd graduated BUD/S, top of her class. The knife now rested in a drawer in her cabin. She'd carried it on every mission. It had tasted blood in 3 countries, and the man who'd given it to her was now selling her to a cartel. Kira packed up her rifle as the sun climbed higher. The morning practice had steadied her, but there was a restlessness in her chest that wouldn't quit. She needed to get out of the cabin, clear her head. By 0900, she was in her truck, a 15-year-old Ford Ranger that had seen better days but still ran heading down the mountain toward Reno. She needed climbing gear. Spring was coming and she'd been hired to guide a group up Mount Talak in April. The pay was decent and it kept her busy, kept her from thinking too much. The drive took 40 minutes. Down through the pines past ski resorts, shuttered for the season into the sprawl of Reno. The biggest little city in the world. According to the sign, casinos, strip clubs, pawn shops, the American dream at its most desperate. She parked downtown, walked 3 blocks to Summit Outdoors, spent 20 minutes picking out carabiners and rope. The owner, a guy named Martin who'd sold her gear before, tried to make small talk. She gave him polite, minimal responses. She wasn't good at small talk. Never had been. By 11:30, she was back on the street gear, bag over her shoulder. That's when she saw him. Vance Blackburn. She recognized him from the news. They'd done a whole segment on him last year. Is Reno's drug crisis being ignored? Local drug lord. Connections to Mexican cartels. Suspected in at least 6 murders. Never convicted. The kind of guy who kept good lawyers on retainer. He was standing outside a bar called Lucky's. 3 men with him. Expensive suits. Bulges under their jackets that said, armed. And facing them, looking very small and very scared, was an older man in a stained apron. The bar owner, probably. Kira slowed her pace. Not her business. Not her fight. She was a civilian now. But her training kicked in anyway. She cataloged details without thinking. Vance 6'2", 220, moves like an athlete, probably works out. Gun looks like a Sig Sauer in a shoulder holster under his jacket. Man on his left, 6 feet even. Muscular, former military bearing. Buzz cut growing out. That was Garrett. She didn't know his name yet, but she'd remember his face. I need another month, the bar owner was saying. His voice shook. Please, business has been slow. You've had 3 months, Vance said. His tone was conversational, friendly even, which somehow made it worse. I'm a reasonable man, but I'm not a charity. You owe me $60,000, plus interest. That's $72,000 now. I don't have it. Then I'll take the bar. Sign it over, today. This bar has been in my family for 40 years. Then you should have thought about that before you borrowed money you couldn't pay back. Kira kept walking, eyes forward. Not her problem. But Garrett, the military-looking guy, turned his head as she passed. Their eyes met for half a second. His gaze swept over her, assessing, the way soldiers do. He saw her posture, the way she walked with perfect balance, weight distributed, hands free and ready. He saw the old scar on her left forearm, visible below her jacket sleeve from a knife fight in Yemen. She saw the recognition in his eyes, not of her specifically, but of what she was. He elbowed Vance, whispered something. Vance glanced at her, smiled. Kira turned the corner and kept walking. Heart rate 68, elevated but controlled. She got in her truck, started the engine. In her rear-view mirror, she saw Garrett pull out his phone, point it at her truck, taking a photo of her license plate. Shit, she muttered. She should have taken a different street. That night, Kira tried to convince herself it was nothing. Guy took a photo of her plate. So what? Lots of people were paranoid these days. Didn't mean anything. She made dinner. Grilled chicken, rice, steamed vegetables, the same thing she'd eaten for 8 years in the Navy. Habit. She tried to read, couldn't focus. Tried to watch TV. Nothing held her attention. At 2100 hours, she gave up and went to bed. The nightmares came at 0300. The girl, Syria, her face through the scope, 16 years old, dark eyes, terror written across her features as she realized what was about to happen. The shot. The spray of red. 300 refugees saved. 1 child dead by Kira's hand. She woke gasping, sheets soaked, heart pounding. The photo of her father watched from across the room. I did the right thing, she said aloud. Didn't I? The photo didn't answer. The next morning, Thursday, Kira drove back to Reno. She told herself it was for groceries. The cabin was low on supplies. Perfectly reasonable, but she found herself driving past Lucky's bar. The front door was smashed in. Windows broken. Police tape across the entrance. She pulled over. Rolled down her window. An old woman was sweeping glass from the sidewalk in front of the shop next door. What happened? Kira asked. The woman looked up, tired eyes and a weathered face. Bar got robbed last night. Owner's in the hospital. They beat him pretty bad. They catch who did it. Cops ain't gonna catch nobody around here, honey. Everybody knows who runs this part of town, Vance. Kira's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Still not her problem. She drove to the grocery store, bought supplies, drove home. But the image of that smashed door stayed with her. Friday morning, Kira was at the range, working through her routine. 50 yards, 100, 150, 200. The shots were clean, perfect groups, but her mind was elsewhere. She kept thinking about Garrett, the way he'd looked at her, the photo of her plate. Facial recognition software was easy to get these days. Any decent hacker could access DMV databases, match a plate to a name to a face. If Garrett was former military, and she was certain he was, he'd know how to run those searches, which meant they might know who she was. The thought should have worried her. Instead, it just made her angry. She packed up her rifle, drove into town. Not Reno this time, Carson City. 30 miles south, Nevada's capital. Bigger, more anonymous. She needed to pick up a prescription from the VA clinic. Routine stuff. Sleeping pills she never took but kept renewing just in case. The clinic was downtown, old building, fluorescent lights, smell of disinfectant and despair. Veterans waiting in plastic chairs. Some young Iraq, Afghanistan. Some old Vietnam, Korea. All carrying the same weight in their eyes. She got her prescription. Was walking back to her truck. The parking lot was half empty. 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. Cold wind blowing trash across the asphalt. She never saw them coming. The first sign was the smell, chloroform, sharp and chemical. Her combat instinct screamed. She spun, elbow coming up. The cloth clamped over her mouth and nose. She drove her head backward, felt it connect with someone's face, heard a grunt of pain. But there were more. Hands grabbing her arms, her legs. She kicked, connected with something soft. A man's scream, got one arm free, drove her fist into another face. Felt cartilage crunch under her knuckles. But the chloroform was already working. Her vision blurred, strength draining like water from a cracked cup. 6 men, maybe 7. Too many. She went for a groin strike. Missed. Someone punched her in the ribs. Air exploded from her lungs. Another hit to her temple. The world spun. The last thing she saw before darkness took her was a face she recognized. Garrett, blood streaming from his broken nose, smiling. When she woke, she was in the warehouse, the chair, the spotlight, the paracord around her wrists, and Vance Blackburn standing in front of her phone in hand, General Frank Dutton's face on the screen. Tomorrow, Dutton was saying, transport her to the border crossing at 0600. My people will meet you there. Half the money up front, the rest when we confirm identity. And if she tries to escape, Vance asked. Dutton's expression didn't change. She won't. She's too smart for that. Aren't you, Kira? She didn't answer. Your father was the same way, Dutton continued, always thinking 3 moves ahead. It's what made him great. It's what got him killed. My father died serving his country, Kira said quietly. Your father died because some bureaucrat in Washington sent him on a mission with bad intelligence and no support. The IED that killed him. We had reports about insurgents planting bombs on that road for 3 weeks. Command ignored them, said the local forces had it handled. They didn't. That's not... I was there, Kira. I flew out for his funeral. I stood next to your mother while they played taps. I watched them fold that flag and hand it to you. Do you remember what you said to me? She did, but she didn't want to. You said he died doing what was right. Like that made it okay. Like dying for people who don't give a damn about you is some kind of honor. It is honor, Kira said. It's waste. Dutton's voice hardened. Your father had more talent in his trigger finger than most men have in their entire bodies. And they threw him away, sent him to die in a desert on the other side of the world for oil companies and defense contracts. He believed in the mission. He believed in a lie, just like you do. Dutton paused. But maybe I can help you see the truth. Do you know why I'm really doing this, Kira? It's not just about money. He reached off screen, brought back a folder, opened it to show photographs. Ricardo Hernandez, the man she'd killed in Culiacan. But these weren't intelligence photos. These were personal. Ricardo at a birthday party. Ricardo with his father, Miguel Hernandez. And Ricardo with someone else, a younger man, laughing, arm around Ricardo's shoulders like they were brothers. Wyatt Dutton. Kira's stomach dropped. My son, Dutton said softly. Wyatt died in Mexico, 2019, DEA raid. Caught in crossfire, they said. Wrong place, wrong time. And Ricardo. Ricardo was his friend. They worked construction together. Legitimate work. Ricardo was trying to leave the cartel, trying to build a real life. The intelligence said, the intelligence was wrong. Ricardo wasn't buying weapons. He was meeting with people who could help him disappear. And your JSOC killed him for it, just like they killed my son. The screen went dark. Vance pocketed the phone. Well, he said, turning to his men, you heard the general. We move her at 0600. Until then, he looked at Garrett. Make sure she understands her situation. Garrett stepped forward, blood still crusted under his nose where Kira had broken it during the capture. With pleasure, he said. He pulled the knife from his belt. And that's when Kira made her move. The headbutt was textbook. Kira snapped her forehead forward into Garrett's already broken nose. The crack was audible across the warehouse. He stumbled backward, knife clattering to the concrete, hands flying to his face. In the same motion, she twisted her right wrist exactly 47 degrees. The paracord slipped. Not much. 3 millimeters. But 3 millimeters was enough. The bitch is loose, Wade shouted, bringing up his AR-15. But Vance raised his hand. Wait. Everyone froze. Kira hadn't moved from the chair. Her wrist was still mostly bound. She could have finished the escape, could have been out of the restraints in another 2 seconds. Instead, she sat perfectly still, eyes locked on Vance. Blood poured from Garrett's nose. He was on his knees, gasping. I'm gonna kill her. I'm gonna... Shut up, Vance said, not taking his eyes off Kira. He walked closer, stopped 3 feet away. Interesting. You could run, but you're not. Why? Because I have a better offer, Kira said. Garrett struggled to his feet. Don't listen to her. I said shut up. Vance's voice was cold steel. He gestured to one of his men. Get him out of here. Clean him up. Two men grabbed Garrett by the arms and dragged him toward a side door. He fought but weakly. The headbutt had rattled him hard. When the door clanged shut, Vance turned back to Kira. I'm listening. General Dutton is playing you, Kira said. The Sinaloa cartel isn't his only client. He's been selling classified intelligence to multiple organizations for at least 2 years. Cartels, militias, maybe even foreign governments. And you're just a middleman, expendable. That's a hell of an accusation. It's the truth. Dutton has files, digital and physical backup, names, dates, transaction records, every operator he's burned, every mission he's compromised. It's his insurance policy. If one buyer turns on him, he releases everything to the others. That's how he's stayed alive this long. Vance studied her. And you know this how? Because I'm JSOC, Joint Special Operations Command. We've been investigating Dutton for 6 months. I was bait. You took it. It was a beautiful lie, confident, detailed, exactly the kind of thing that sounded true because it was almost true. The real truth was simpler. Kira was guessing. But she was guessing based on 30 years of pattern recognition inherited from her father and honed through 8 years of intelligence work. Men like Dutton always kept insurance. Vance's eyes narrowed. You're lying. Am I call him back? Ask him about the other operators. Ask him how many he's sold in the past year. Ask him what he's really building with all that money. She saw it, the micro expression, the tiny flinch. Vance knew something. Maybe not everything, but something. Or better yet, Kira continued, ask him about the men he's been recruiting. The disgraced Special Forces operators. The ones who got kicked out for being too violent, too unstable. Ask him what he's training them for. Wade shifted nervously by the door. Cole remained motionless by the window, but his eyes had sharpened. Vance pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, waited. What? Dutton's voice crackled through the speaker. We need to talk about your other operations. The pause was long enough to be damning. I don't know what she's told you, Dutton said finally, but the arrangement stands. You deliver the girl, you get paid. That's all you need to know. She says you're building something, recruiting operators, that I'm just one piece of a bigger picture. She's manipulating you, Vance. It's what she's trained to do. Don't be stupid. Then prove it. Tell me about the others. Another pause. This conversation is over. Transport her tomorrow as planned. If you have concerns, we'll discuss them after delivery. But touch her again before then and our deal is off. The line went dead. Vance stared at the phone, then at Kira. Get me Garrett, he said to Wade. Now, Wade hesitated. But boss, you just sent him. I said get him and find out everything you can about General Frank Dutton. I want to know every operation he's run, every person he's sold, every rumor floating around. You have 2 hours. But then Wade nodded and left. Vance turned back to Kira. You're either the smartest person in this room or the stupidest. Let's find out which. He walked out, leaving Kira alone with Cole. The mercenary hadn't moved. Glock 19 still held in a perfect two-handed grip, muzzle pointed at Kira's knee. Professional, controlled. They sat in silence for 30 seconds. Then Kira spoke. Your name's Cole, right? No response. British accent, Manchester maybe, former SAS washout. You've got the discipline, but not the politics. Did something that pissed off command. Now you're here working for a drug lord in Nevada. She paused. How's that working out for you? Cole's jaw tightened, barely perceptible. You know they're going to kill you too, Kira continued quietly. After this is done, after I'm delivered, you're a witness, a liability. Men like Vance don't leave loose ends. Can't run, Cole said. His voice was rough, unused. Debts. Everyone has debts. Not like mine. The door opened. Garrett came back in, nose packed with gauze. His eyes were murder. Behind him, Vance, and Wade carrying a laptop. Vance set the laptop on a crate, opened it, started reading. His face changed as he scrolled. Hardened. Got colder. 6 operators, he said finally, in the past 14 months, all listed as KIA. All disappeared in circumstances that don't quite add up. He looked at Kira. You were right. He's been busy. That's not all, Wade said, pulling up another screen. There's chatter, dark web forums. Dutton's name comes up. People saying he's recruiting, building something big. A private force, maybe 24 men. Vance closed the laptop, stood. Change of plans, he said. We're not delivering her tomorrow. Garrett's face twisted. But the money, baby. Fuck the money, baby. If what she's saying is true, if Dutton's building an army, then we're in the middle of something way bigger than a cartel revenge killing. And I don't like being a pawn. He turned to Kira. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell me everything you know about Dutton's operation. Every detail, every location, every name. And if I believe you, maybe I let you walk out of here. And if you don't believe me, then Garrett gets his wish. Kira considered. This was the moment. The pivot point. Cut me loose, she said. I'll tell you everything, but I need to be able to move, to show you proof. Proof. I have a contact, JSOC. He can verify everything I'm saying, but I need to call him, and I need my hands free to do it. Vance studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded to Cole. Cut her loose, but if she moves wrong, shoot her in the leg. Cole stepped forward, drew a knife, cut the paracord with one clean motion. Kira's hands came free. She rubbed her wrists where the rope had bit, stood slowly. Garrett had his Glock out. Wade's AR-15 was up. Cole's pistol never wavered from her knee. Phone, Kira said. Vance pulled her cell from his pocket, the one they'd taken when they grabbed her, tossed it to her. She caught it, unlocked it, scrolled through contacts, found the number she needed, dialed. It rang 3 times. Commander Clayton Hargrove, JSOC authentication required. Sir, this is Petty Officer First Class Kira Ashford. Service number November Kilo 773 14829. Authentication code Phantom 6 Romeo. A pause. Ashford, you're supposed to be retired. I need you to verify some information for a civilian. Can you confirm JSOC has been investigating General Frank Dutton for illegal sale of classified intelligence? Another pause. Longer. Who am I speaking to? Kira handed the phone to Vance. My name is Vance Blackburn. I run operations in Reno, Nevada. General Dutton hired me to kidnap and deliver Petty Officer Ashford to the Sinaloa cartel. She claims this is part of a larger operation. I need to know if that's true. Hargrove's voice came through the speaker, careful. Mr. Blackburn, are you currently holding Petty Officer Ashford against her will? Yes. Then I strongly suggest you release her immediately. What you're describing is a federal crime. Multiple federal crimes. I'm aware, but before I make any decisions, I need to know, is Dutton under investigation? A long silence. Then yes, for the past 6 months. We suspect he's been selling classified special forces rosters and operational intelligence to multiple buyers. We've confirmed at least 6 operators have been kidnapped and sold to cartels, all listed as KIA to cover up the disappearances. Dutton is the primary suspect. Vance's face went pale. He looked at Kira, then back at the phone. And Ashford, she's really JSOC bait. No, she's retired. This wasn't planned. But if she's in your custody and Dutton is involved, then she's in immediate danger. So are you Mr. Blackburn? Dutton doesn't leave witnesses. Vance ended the call, handed the phone back to Kira. For a moment, no one moved. Then Garrett said, this is bullshit. She's lying. He's lying. It's all. Shut up, Vance said quietly. Just shut up. He walked to the window, looked out at the fading light. 6 operators, he said. 6 families that think their sons, their daughters, their fathers died in combat, but they didn't. They were sold, like cattle. He turned back. I'm a lot of things, but I'm not that. I won't be part of that. Then let me go, Kira said. Help me stop him. And what I just walk away, pretend this never happened. You cooperate with JSOC, tell them everything you know about Dutton, his contacts, his methods. You become a witness instead of a defendant. Hargrove will cut you a deal. Or he'll throw me in federal prison for kidnapping a Navy SEAL. Probably both, but at least you'll be alive. Dutton's cleaning up loose ends. You really think he's gonna let you walk away after this? You know too much. Vance was quiet for a long time. Then he pulled out his phone, made a call. It's me, he said. We have a problem. The girl she's connected to, JSOC, they've been investigating you. They know about the 6 operators. They know you're building something. He listened. No, I'm not delivering her. This is over. I'm out. More listening. Fuck you too. He ended the call, looked at Kira. Congratulations. You just got us all killed. Because at that moment, the warehouse doors exploded inward. 4 men in tactical gear poured through. Not JSOC, not police. Dutton's men. They opened fire immediately. Wade went down first. 3 rounds to the chest. He was dead before he hit the ground. Garrett dove behind a crate, returned fire with his Glock. One attacker dropped. Cole was already moving. He put 2 rounds into another attacker's head. Perfect shots. Then he grabbed Kira by the arm. Move! They ran toward the back of the warehouse. Vance right behind them. Gunfire echoed off the concrete walls. Muzzle flashes lit the darkness like lightning. They hit the back door. Cole kicked it open. Outside, cold night air. Alley. A black SUV screeched around the corner. More of Dutton's men. This way. Vance pulled them toward a fire escape. They climbed. Fast. Second floor. Third. Roof. Behind them, boots on metal, shouting. More gunfire. They reached the roof, ran across gravel and tar paper, jumped to the next building, and the next. Finally, they stopped, caught their breath. Below the warehouse was swarming with Dutton's people, at least a dozen men. He's really going scorched earth, Vance gasped. Kira pulled out her phone, Pasikayim, dialed Hargrove again. Sir, we're under attack. Dutton sent a kill team, multiple hostiles. We need immediate extraction. Location, Carson City, Warehouse District, southwest corner of Stewart and 5th. How many hostiles? 12 minimum. They're armed with automatic weapons. This isn't a snatch, this is a cleanup. We're wheels up in 5 minutes. Can you hold position? Negative, we're on a roof, exposed. We need to move. And there's an old church 3 blocks north of your position. St. Mary's. We'll extract from there. Can you make it? Kira looked at the others. Vance was bleeding from a graze on his arm. Cole was uninjured but breathing hard. Garrett was still in the warehouse, probably dead. We'll make it, she said. They moved across the rooftops, jumping gaps, climbing fire escapes, working their way north. Behind them, Dutton's men were spreading out, searching, hunting. They reached St. Mary's 20 minutes later. An old stone church, boarded windows, abandoned for years. They broke in through a side door, found cover in the sanctuary. The helicopter arrived 10 minutes after that. Black Hawk, no markings. It settled in the parking lot. 6 operators in full tactical gear jumped out. M4 carbines, night vision. The real deal. Hargrove was with them. Ashford, he said as they ran toward the bird, you have a talent for finding trouble. It finds me, sir. They loaded into the helicopter. The Black Hawk lifted off just as Dutton's SUVs screeched into the parking lot. Gunfire chased them into the sky, but they were already too high. Too fast, safe. Kira leaned back against the bulkhead, closed her eyes. It was over, or it was just beginning. Because now Dutton knew she was alive, and he knew she was coming for him. The Black Hawk flew south through the night. No lights, low altitude. The kind of flight that didn't exist on any radar. Kira sat against the bulkhead watching the desert pass beneath them. Vance was across from her hands, zip-tied, flanked by 2 JSOC operators. Cole sat further back, similarly restrained. Both men had chosen cooperation over resistance. Hargrove sat next to Kira, tablet in hand, reading. His face got harder with each page. 6 confirmed, he said finally. Marcus Hayes, Amanda Rodriguez, Thomas Garrett, Lisa Chen, David Kowalski, Jennifer Martinez, all listed as KIA. All actually sold to cartels. He looked up at Kira. Hayes and Rodriguez are alive, barely. Mexican federal police found them in a compound outside Tijuana 2 weeks ago. They're in bad shape. The others, he shook his head. We're still looking. Kira's stomach turned. 6 operators, 6 families who'd been told their loved ones died serving their country, but they died in cages, tortured, broken, because Frank Dutton had sold them. There's more, Hargrove said. He pulled up another file. We've been tracking unusual activity around Dutton for months. Financial transfers, encrypted communications. And this, he showed her satellite imagery. A compound in Montana, big sky country, main house, barn, outbuildings, and in the yard men training, at least 12 of them, running drills, weapons practice, the distinctive patterns of military exercises. He's building something, Hargrove said, a private force. We've identified 8 of them so far. All former special forces, all dishonorably discharged or pushed out for disciplinary issues. The kind of operators who are very good at their jobs, but very bad at following rules. What's he planning to do with them? We don't know, but it's not just about selling intelligence anymore. This is bigger. Kira studied the images. Something nagged at her. The layout of the compound, the way the men moved, it had the feel of preparation, like they were training for something specific. How long until we can move on him, she asked. That's complicated. Dutton's a four-star general, Congressional Medal of Honor, the kind of man you don't arrest without ironclad evidence. Right now, all we have is circumstantial. Vance's testimony will help, but a drug lord's word won't be enough. Exactly. What about the files, the insurance policy I mentioned? Hargrove's eyes sharpened. You really think he has them? Men like Dutton always have insurance. It's how they stay alive when they're selling secrets. One copy for themselves, one copy somewhere safe. If anything happens to him, the copies go public. Mutually assured destruction. Any idea where he'd keep them? The compound. Has to be. Somewhere secure. A safe. Hidden server. Something physical he can control. Hargrove was quiet for a moment. Then, I can't officially send you after those files. I know. But if you happen to go to Montana on your own time, and if you happen to gather intelligence on a suspected traitor, I suppose I couldn't stop you. No, sir, you couldn't. And if you needed equipment, I'll make a list. The Black Hawk banked east, toward Nevada, toward whatever came next. They landed at Nellis Air Force Base 40 minutes later, a secure facility, no questions asked. Vance and Cole were led away for debriefing. Kira watched them go. Vance looked back once, nodded, a small acknowledgement. They weren't friends, would never be, but they'd survived together. That counted for something. A medic approached Kira. Ma'am, I need to check you over. She let him. The physical exam was routine. Bruised ribs from the capture, minor lacerations, nothing serious. But then he drew blood. Standard toxicology, he explained. Whatever they used to knock you out, we need to know what it was. For the medical record. She nodded, held out her arm. When he was done, Hargrove appeared again. Walk with me. They crossed the tarmac to a nondescript building. Inside was a secure briefing room. Maps on the walls, computer terminals, the nerve center of JSOC operations in the western United States. Hargrove pulled up the Montana compound on a large screen. Dutton's Ranch, 400 acres, purchased 2019, 6 months after his son died. He zoomed in. Main house, 2 stories, basement, standard security system. The barn's been converted into a barracks, sleeps 20, and these outbuildings we're not sure what they are. Storage maybe, or something else. Guards, 2 at all times, former operators. They rotate in 8-hour shifts, but the 12 men training they're living on site, so you're looking at 14 hostiles minimum. Weapons unknown, but assume military grade. Dutton has the connections to get anything he wants. Kira studied the layout. The compound was isolated. Nearest neighbor 3 miles away. Nearest town Big Sky 8 miles. Good for privacy, bad for a quick exit. What's your plan? Hargrove asked. Solo infiltration, night approach. Get in, find the files, get out. You provide overwatch and extraction if things go wrong. That's suicide. It's the mission. Kira, sir, with the respect, a team approach won't work. Dutton will see it coming. He's got experience, resources, and he's paranoid. But one person, someone he knows, someone he might still trust just a little, that has a chance. Hargrove rubbed his face. He looked tired, old, the weight of command pressing down. There's something else you need to know, he said finally. He pulled up another file. Classified, eyes only. The header read, Dutton Wyatt, deceased Mexico 2019. But there was a second document inside. CIA stamp. Kira read it. Her blood turned to ice. Wyatt Dutton hadn't died in a crossfire. He'd been killed by a CIA team. Mistaken identity. They'd been targeting a cartel lieutenant named Javier Mendoza. Wyatt had been at the wrong meeting at the wrong time. Same build. Same general appearance. The CIA had realized the mistake within hours. But instead of admitting it, they'd buried it, paid off Mexican authorities, filed false reports, made it look like random violence. And they'd never told Frank Dutton the truth. He doesn't know, Kira whispered. No. The agency classified it at the highest level. Even most CIA officers don't know. It's buried deep. If he finds out that the U.S. government killed his son and covered it up. Hargrove's voice was grim. There's no telling what he'll do. He's already selling out Special Forces operators. Imagine what he'll do with that level of betrayal. Kira's mind raced. Dutton thought Wyatt had died in random cartel violence. That's why he turned. That's why he was burning everything down. Grief, rage, the need for someone to pay. But if he learned it was friendly fire that his own government had killed his son, you can't tell him, Hargrove said. Not until after he's in custody. Maybe not ever. This is need to know and he doesn't need to know. That's not right. No, it's not. But it's necessary. We tell him the truth, he'll go full scorched earth. More people will die. More people are dying anyway, 6 operators. Maybe more. And we'll stop him. But we do it smart. We do it clean. We don't hand him a nuclear bomb of information that'll make him completely uncontrollable. Kira wanted to argue, but she couldn't. Hargrove was right. The truth about Wyatt was a weapon, one that could destroy everything. When do I leave? She asked. Tomorrow night. I'll have a vehicle ready. Weapons, wish, burner phone. You'll drive to Montana, scout the compound, and make your approach. We'll have a team staged 20 miles out. If you get in trouble, we can be there in 15 minutes. And if I find the files, you call me, we coordinate extraction and arrest. This goes by the book. And if Dutton suspects I'm playing him, Hargrove met her eyes, then you do whatever you have to do to survive. But Kira, we need him alive. He's the only one who knows where all his buyers are, all his operators. If he dies, that information dies with him. She nodded. They spent the next 3 hours planning. Routes, contingencies, communication protocols. The kind of detailed preparation that meant the difference between mission success and body bags. At 0200, Hargrove called it. Get some rest. You've got a long drive tomorrow. Kira was led to temporary quarters. A small room, cot, sink, the Spartan accommodations of a military base. She lay down, tried to sleep, but her mind wouldn't quiet. Frank Dutton, the man who'd taught her father, who'd given her the K-bar knife she still carried, who'd looked at a 10-year-old girl and seen potential. That man was gone, replaced by someone broken, twisted by grief into something unrecognizable. Could she bring him back? Or was he too far gone? She didn't know. At 0700, she gave up on sleep, got up, showered, dressed in civilian clothes, jeans, thermal shirt, hiking boots. The kind of outfit that wouldn't draw attention in Montana. Breakfast in the base mess hall. Scrambled eggs, toast, coffee. She ate mechanically. Fuel for the body. At 0900, Hargrove found her. Vehicles ready, Ford F-150 Raptor, civilian plates, untraceable, fueled and loaded. They walked to the motor pool. The Raptor was matte black, 450 horsepower. The kind of truck that could go anywhere and do anything. In the back, a Pelican case. Inside, Remington 700. Her father's rifle. 2 Glock 9s. K-bar knife. Suppressor. Night vision monocular. Body armor. 400 rounds of ammunition. In the glove box, 15,000 in cash. Burner phone. Fake ID. One more thing, Hargrove said. He handed her a small device. GPS tracker. If things go completely sideways, press this. It'll send your exact location to our tactical team. They'll come in hot and heavy. That'll burn the operation. Better than you dying. She pocketed the tracker. Kira, Hargrove said, I know Dutton was important to your father, important to you, but don't let that cloud your judgment. He's not the man you remember. He's a traitor, and he's dangerous. I know. Do you? Because I've seen operators hesitate when it's someone they care about, and that hesitation gets them killed. I won't hesitate. See that you don't. She got in the Raptor, started the engine. The V8 rumbled to life. One last thing, Hargrove said through the window. Vance gave us some interesting information during his debrief. He said Dutton mentioned something about soldiers who understand sacrifice, like he was recruiting for something specific. Any idea what that means? Kira thought about it. Soldiers who understand sacrifice. Men willing to die for a cause. Suicide mission, she said. He's planning something where casualties are expected. Acceptable even. That's what we're afraid of, which makes stopping him even more urgent. She nodded, put the truck in gear. Good hunting, Ashford. She drove. North on I-95, east on I-80, then north again through Idaho into Montana. 1,850 miles. 27 hours of driving if she pushed it. She pushed it. Stopped only for gas and bathroom breaks. Ate drive-through food. Drank enough coffee to fuel a battalion. The landscape changed around her. Desert gave way to forest. Forest gave way to mountains. Snow appeared on the peaks. The air got colder, thinner. She thought about her father as she drove. Dane Ashford, Phantom. The legend who'd trained her, shaped her, made her into what she was. He'd trusted Dutton, believed in him. Would he have seen this coming? Would he have known the seeds of betrayal were already there? Or was this something that only happened after Wyatt died? The final break that turned a good man into a monster? She didn't know. At 2300 hours, she crossed into Montana. Big sky country, wide open spaces. Stars so bright they looked close enough to touch. At 0200, she reached the area around Dutton's ranch. She drove past the main entrance. Dirt road winding up into the hills. No gate, no signs, just tire tracks in the snow. She found a logging road a mile up, pulled in, parked the Raptor behind a stand of pines where it wouldn't be visible from the main road. Then she waited. Dawn came at 0630, gray light spreading across the mountains. Beautiful, cold, unforgiving. She unpacked the Pelican case, assembled the Remington 700, loaded 5 rounds of Lake City match, checked the scope 0. Then she hiked, through the forest, up the ridge, moving silent, the way her father had taught her. Wait on the outside edges of your feet. Slow breaths, become part of the landscape. It took 90 minutes to reach her observation post, a rocky outcrop 800 yards from Dutton's main house. Perfect line of sight, perfect cover. She set up the Remington, bipod extended, scope to her eye, and what she saw made her breath catch. The compound wasn't just a ranch, it was a military installation. 12 men in the yard, all armed, all moving with precision. Running drills, PT exercise, weapons training. They weren't just former special forces, they were elite, the best of the best. In the barn, she could see through the open doors. Crates, weapons crates, military grade, M4 carbines, a T4 anti-tank weapons, enough firepower to take on a small army. This wasn't insurance. This was preparation for war. But war against who? She watched for 3 hours. Memorizing patterns, guard rotations, weak points. At 1100 hours, a figure emerged from the main house, General Frank Dutton. Even at this distance, even through the scope, she could see he looked older than she remembered. The years had carved deep lines in his face, but he still moved with authority, still commanded respect from the men around him. He walked to the barn, spoke with the operators training there. She couldn't hear the words, but she could see their faces. Respect, loyalty, they believed in him. Whatever he was planning, they were all in. Her burner phone buzzed. She answered without taking her eye from the scope. Hargrove. I'm in position, she said quietly, and we've got a bigger problem than we thought. How big? Dutton's not just recruiting, he's building a strike team. 12 operators, full weapons cache, anti-tank weapons. They're training for a hard target assault. Military installation, maybe? Or government building? Silence on the other end. Then, Christ, what's the play? I'm going in tonight. I'll make contact, try to get inside his operation. See if I can find out what he's planning. Alone against 12 hostiles. It has to be subtle. A full team assault will just trigger whatever he's planning. This way I might be able to stop it before it starts. Or he kills you the moment you show your face. That's why I'm calling. If I'm not out by 0600 tomorrow, assume I'm compromised. Send the team. Another pause. You know there's a good chance this is a one-way trip. I know. And you're going anyway. It's the mission, sir. She could almost hear Hargrove shaking his head. Okay, but Kira, if Dutton somehow finds out about Wyatt, about the CIA. I know, radio silence, he can't know. Good luck, Ashford. She ended the call, spent the rest of the day watching, learning, planning. At 1800 hours, the men ate dinner in the barn. At 2100, lights started going out. By 2200, only 2 guards remained, one at the barn, one walking perimeter. At 0200, Kira moved. She left the Remington, too bulky for infiltration. Took the Glocks, the K-bar, and a suppressor for close work. Down the ridge, through the trees, across the fence line. The perimeter guard was predictable. Every 8 minutes, he circled the compound. Kira timed it, slipped past during his blind spot. The barn guard was harder. He had night vision. She could see the telltale glow of the optics. She waited, patient, still. At 0230, he stepped inside the barn, probably to take a leak. She moved across the yard to the main house, testing the back door, locked. She picked it in 18 seconds. Old skills, never forgotten. Inside, the house was dark, silent, smell of coffee and wood smoke. She cleared the first floor. Kitchen, living room, office. In the office, a desk, computer. And behind a painting of the American flag, a wall safe. Fort Knox Guardian series. Biometric lock, 8-digit code. The same model from the warehouse security footage. She didn't have time to crack it, but she could gather intelligence around it. She placed a micro camera on the bookshelf opposite the safe. Wireless, motion activated. If anyone opened it, the camera would record the code. Then she turned to the desk, looked for papers, files, anything that might reveal Dutton's plan. The computer was password protected. But there were papers, handwritten notes, maps. One map caught her eye, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Red X marks on 6 buildings. The headquarters building, the armory, the medical center, the officers' club, the daycare center, the main gate, 6 targets, 6 suicide bombers. Her blood ran cold. That's what soldiers who understand sacrifice meant. Dutton wasn't just planning to expose government corruption. He was planning to kill soldiers, hundreds of them, in a coordinated attack on the largest military base in the United States. She pulled out her phone, started photographing the maps, the notes, everything. And that's when she heard the voice behind her. "Hello, Kira. I was wondering when you'd show up." She turned. General Frank Dutton stood in the doorway, perfectly still, a .45 caliber M1911 in his hand, the pistol rock steady, pointed at her center mass. "Sir," she said, calm, controlled. "We need to talk. About how you escaped from Vance. About how you're working with JISOC. He stepped into the room. "I know all of it, Kira. I've known since the moment Vance called me. Did you really think I'd let you walk into my home without preparation? I came alone. I know, which means you're either very brave or very foolish. Probably both." He gestured with the gun, hands where I can see them, slowly. She raised her hands. The Glocks were holstered at her hips, the K-bar on her thigh, all within reach, but not fast enough. Not at this range. "I didn't come to arrest you," Kira said. "I came to understand." "Understand what? Why you're doing this, selling operators, building an army, planning." She glanced at the Fort Bragg maps. "Whatever that is." Dutton's expression didn't change. "You saw the maps. 6 targets, 6 bombers. You're going to hit Fort Bragg during the change of command ceremony next week. 300 soldiers and civilians will be there. You'll kill them all. I'll kill the people who deserve it. The generals, the politicians, the bureaucrats who send good men to die for lies. The innocent people, the enlisted, the families, they'll be collateral damage. Just like my son was collateral damage." Wyatt's death was what random bad luck? Dutton's voice hardened. "No, it was incompetence. The DEA sent him into a war zone with bad intelligence and no backup, just like they did to your father. Just like they've done to thousands of operators. And nobody pays. Nobody is held accountable. So you're going to murder 300 people. I'm going to make them understand. Make them feel what we feel. Loss, grief, the knowledge that the people you trusted, the system you believed in, doesn't give a damn about you. This isn't justice, it's terrorism. Call it what you want. In 7 days, the world will know the truth about what the U.S. military has done. The lies, the cover-ups, the good men sacrificed for politics. And maybe, something will finally change." Kira's mind raced. She needed to keep him talking, needed to find an opening. "The files," she said, "your insurance policy. You're going to release them after the attack. While the bombs are going off, maximum impact. The media won't be able to ignore it. And the men out there, your operators, they know they're on a suicide mission. They volunteered, every one of them. They're patriots, Kira, real patriots. Not the flag-waving blind obedience kind, the kind who see the truth and act on it. They're murderers, just like you." Dutton's finger tightened on the trigger. "You sound like your father. He always thought there was a clean way to fight, a right way. But there isn't. War is ugly. Justice is ugly. Sometimes you have to get blood on your hands to fix what's broken. My father would never have done this. Your father is dead, killed by the same system I'm trying to destroy. If he were alive, he'd understand. No, he wouldn't. He believed in honor, in doing the right thing even when it was hard. You taught him that." Something flickered in Dutton's eyes, pain, regret, but it was gone as fast as it appeared. "Honor doesn't bring back the dead," he said quietly. "I learned that when they handed me Wyatt's flag, when they told me my son died for nothing, in a war we had no business fighting. Honor is a lie we tell ourselves to make the killing easier. So what now? You shoot me, add me to the body count. I don't want to, but I can't let you stop this. Too much is at stake." "Then let me help you." That made him pause. "What?" I said, "Let me help you. You're right. The system is broken. Good people die for bad reasons. I've seen it, lived it. I shot a 16-year-old girl in Syria because some analyst said she was a threat. I see her face every night. I know the cut. She took a step forward. The gun came up slightly, but Dutton didn't fire. But killing 300 people at Fort Bragg won't fix anything, she continued. It'll just create more victims, more families destroyed, more operators who will have to carry that weight. There's a better way. There isn't. There is. Work with JSOC, turn over the files, testify, expose the corruption from the inside. It'll take longer. It'll be harder, but it'll actually change things, not just create more chaos. Dutton was quiet for a long moment. Then he shook his head. You're still so young. You still think the system can be reformed. But it can't. It's rotten all the way through. The only way to fix it is to tear it down and start over. Even if that means becoming what you hate. I already am what I hate. I became it the day I sold Marcus Hayes to the Sinaloa cartel. There's no redemption for me, Kira. Only revenge. That's not true. It's never too late to... The explosion cut her off. The barn erupted in a ball of fire. The shockwave rattled windows. Alarms started blaring. Dutton's head snapped toward the window. What the... Go! Kira moved. She closed the distance in 2 steps, grabbed Dutton's wrist, twisted. The M1911 fired, the round punched into the wall. She drove her knee into his ribs. Once. Twice. He was 73, but he was still a Green Beret. He headbutted her. Her vision exploded in stars. She stumbled back. He raised the pistol again. Another explosion. The southern outbuilding. Men were shouting outside, running. Chaos. We're under attack, someone yelled. Kira didn't wait. She ran, out the office door, down the hallway, operators pouring in from the yard. She drew both Glocks, fired as she moved. Controlled pairs, 1 down, 2 down. Return fire stitched the wall above her head. She dove into the kitchen, rolled behind the island. Rounds punched through the cabinet. She blind fired around the corner. Heard a scream. Moved again. Through the kitchen. To the back door. Outside. The compound was chaos. Men running, shouting. The barn fully engulfed. Ammunition cooking off inside, popping like firecrackers. She sprinted for the tree line. 50 yards. 40. 30. Gunfire erupted behind her. She felt the supersonic crack of rounds passing. Too close. 20 yards. 10. She hit the trees, kept running. Branches whipping her face. Roots trying to trip her. Behind her, more explosions. Someone had rigged the entire compound. But who she ran for 10 minutes, put distance between her and the chaos, then stopped. Caught her breath. Checked her weapons. Both Glocks. 7 rounds in one, 9 in the other. The Ka-bar still on her thigh. Her shoulder ached. The old wound from the warehouse. But she was alive. The sound of helicopter rotors filled the air. Blackhawks. At least 2. Coming in fast. JSOC. But she hadn't called them, which meant her burner phone buzzed. Ashford. Hargrove's voice. Tense. Tell me you're alive. Barely. What the hell is happening? Dutton's operation was bigger than we thought. He wasn't just planning to hit Fort Bragg. He had 6 suicide bombers ready to deploy. They were supposed to strike tomorrow during the change of command ceremony. 300 soldiers and civilians would have died. How did you... The camera you planted, it caught Dutton opening the safe 2 hours ago. We got the codes, sent a team in, found the whole plan, maps, explosives, detonators, everything. The explosions. Demo charges. Had to destroy the weapons cache before Dutton's people could use them. Where is he? Still in the compound, armed, dangerous. Can you get back there? Why? Because we need him alive, Kira. He's the only one who knows where all 6 bombers are. We've identified 4, but 2 are still in the wind. If even one gets through, I'm on my way. She ran back, toward the fire, toward the gunfire, toward Dutton. The compound was a war zone. JSOC operators in full kit moving through the smoke. Dutton's men either dead or surrendering. She found him by the burning barn, on his knees, hands behind his head. 3 operators covering him with M4s, but his eyes were on something else. Someone else. A man walking toward him through the flames. Younger, maybe 35, dark hair, familiar features. Kira's breath caught. Wyatt Dutton. Alive. Dad, Wyatt said. Dutton's face went through every emotion at once. Shock, disbelief, joy, then confusion. You're dead, Dutton whispered. They killed you, Mexico. 2019. I saw the report. You saw a report, Wyatt said gently. Not me. The CIA faked my death. Put me in witness protection. I've been undercover DEA for 7 years. Deep cover in the Sinaloa cartel. But I mourned you. Dutton's voice broke. Everything I did, it was for you. I know. Wyatt knelt in front of his father. And I'm so sorry. They wouldn't let me contact you. Operational security. If the cartel found out I was alive, they'd have killed everyone I ever knew. My handlers, my team, you. Ricardo was my target dad. He wasn't trying to get out of the cartel. He was expanding it, moving weapons, nuclear materials. I was embedded in his operation for 18 months. I provided the intelligence that led to the strike. I was there when Kira took the shot. Dutton looked like he'd been shot himself. But the photos, you and him, deep cover means becoming the lie. I had to make him trust me, had to make everyone trust me, including you. Wyatt's voice cracked. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you. I'm sorry you thought I was dead. I'm sorry for everything you did because of that lie. I've killed 6 operators, Dutton said, hollow, empty. Sold them to cartels like animals. Because I thought I know what you did, and I know why. But Dad, you were wrong. Ricardo wasn't a good man trying to escape. He was a monster who was very good at pretending. The system isn't perfect, but it's not evil either. We're soldiers doing an impossible job in impossible circumstances. Dutton's hands came down. The operators tensed, but he just covered his face and wept. Kira approached slowly. The operators let her through. Hargrove must have told them she was friendly. She knelt beside Dutton, put a hand on his shoulder. General, she said quietly, it's over. He looked up, eyes red, face decades older than it had been hours ago. Your father, he said, phantom. He really did die because of bad intelligence. That part was true. I wasn't lying about that. I know. So many good men, dead for nothing. Not nothing for the mission, for each other. That has to count for something. Does it? Kira thought about the 16-year-old girl in Syria, the face that haunted her dreams, the 300 refugees who'd lived because that girl had died. I don't know, she admitted, but it's what we have. It's what keeps us going. The belief that what we do matters, that we're protecting people who can't protect themselves. Maybe that's a lie, or maybe it's the most important truth there is. Dutton stood slowly, let the operators cuff him, didn't resist. As they led him away, he stopped, looked back at Kira. I'm sorry, he said, for trying to sell you, for everything. I know. Your father would be proud of you. You did what was right, even when it was hard. Then he was gone, into the Black Hawk, into custody, into history. Wyatt approached Kira, extended his hand. Petty Officer Ashford, we haven't officially met. Special Agent Wyatt Dutton, DEA. She shook his hand. You knew your father was compromised. For 8 months, we tried to bring him in quietly, but Wyatt smiled sadly. He's stubborn, like all the good ones are. The bombers. In custody, all 6. We picked them up 30 minutes ago. Fort Bragg is safe. And the file's the proof of war crimes. Being reviewed, some of it's real, cover-ups that need to be exposed. Some of it's exaggerated, some outright fabricated. We'll sort through it. Hold people accountable where appropriate. Learn from mistakes. Try to do better. And where it's not appropriate, Wyatt met her eyes. Then we acknowledge the complexity. War is messy. Decisions are made with incomplete information. People die for reasons that seem good at the time but look terrible in hindsight. We can't change the past, but we can try not to repeat it. Hargrove appeared, tired, covered in soot, but alive. Ashford, hell of a night. Yes, sir. You're bleeding again. She looked down. The old shoulder wound had reopened, blood soaking through her shirt. I know, sir. There's a medic in Black Hawk too. Get that looked at. What happens to Dutton? Military tribunal. He'll go to prison. But given his age, his service record, and the circumstances, he might see daylight again before he dies. Hargrove paused. Wyatt's agreed to testify. Explain the misunderstanding about Ricardo. It won't excuse what Frank did, but it might contextualize it. And the 6 operators he sold, Hayes and Rodriguez are alive, recovering. The other 4, Hargrove shook his head. We found 2 alive. The other 2 didn't make it, but we're bringing them home. Their families will know the truth. Kira nodded. 4 dead, 2 alive. It was better than 6 dead, but not by much. One more thing, Hargrove said. What you said in there, about doing the right thing even when it's hard, that took guts. I learned it from my father. Phantom was a good man, and so was Dutton once. War breaks people in different ways. Some of us handle it, some of us don't. Which one am I? Hargrove studied her. You're still here, still fighting, still trying to do right. That's all any of us can do. The medic worked on her shoulder in the helicopter, cleaned the wound, fresh stitches, more bandages, antibiotics. As the Black Hawk lifted off, Kira looked down at the burning compound. Dutton's dream twisted by grief into something monstrous going up in smoke. She thought about her father, about Dutton, about all the operators who died believing they were doing the right thing. Maybe they had been. Maybe they hadn't. Maybe right and wrong were more complicated than she'd been taught. The helicopter turned south, toward Nevada, toward debriefing, toward whatever came next. She closed her eyes. It wasn't over. Not really. There would be more missions, more threats, more impossible choices. But for now, for this moment, she'd stopped a massacre, saved 300 lives, brought a traitor to justice. That had to be enough. 3 months later, Kira sat on the dock at her Lake Tahoe cabin. The shoulder had healed. Mostly. Still ached when it rained. Probably always would. She had a collection of scars now. Each one a story, each one a reminder. She'd visited Dutton twice. In the military prison at Fort Leavenworth. He was thinner, grayer, but somehow more at peace. Wyatt visited him every week, father and son, rebuilding what had been broken. The files had been partially released, redacted, sanitized. A few officers had been quietly retired, a few policies changed. The system had bent, but it hadn't broken. Some things never would. Her phone rang, not the burner, her regular phone. Hargrove. Sir? Ashford, how's retirement treating you? It's quiet. Want it to stay that way? She smiled. Not particularly. Good, because we've got a situation in Syria. Hostages, American journalists. We need a sniper who can make a difficult shot in urban terrain. Interested. Kira looked at the photo of her father on the mantel inside the cabin. Dress whites, trident, smile soft. She could almost hear his voice, the memory from that day at the range weeks before he died. You feel it here, he'd said, tapping his chest. Right isn't easy, Kira. Right is doing the hardest thing when it matters most. When you're scared, when you're alone, when everyone else is taking the easy path, that's when right matters. What if I mess up? Then you get up. You do better next time. That's all any of us can do. She'd done the hard thing. Stopped Dutton, saved Fort Bragg. It hadn't been easy. It hadn't been clean, but it had been right. Yes, sir, she told Hargrove. I'll be there. She stood, walked inside, started packing. Remington 700, Sig Sauer P226, K-bar knife, the tools of her trade, the legacy of her father, the burden and blessing of being a SEAL. Outside, the sun set over Lake Tahoe, gold and orange painting the mountains. Beautiful, peaceful, but peace was never permanent, not in her line of work. There were always more missions, more threats, more people who needed protecting. And as long as there were, she'd answer the call. Not because it was easy, not because it was safe, but because someone had to. And she was good at it. Better than good. She was the best. The briefing room at Fort Bragg was sterile. White walls, fluorescent lights, a long table where Kira sat across from 3 men in suits, FBI, DOJ, and someone from the Pentagon whose name she didn't catch. Let's go over this one more time, the FBI agent said. His name was Patterson, mid-40s, receding hairline, the kind of bureaucrat who'd never been shot at. You infiltrated General Dutton's compound alone. No backup, no authorization. Commander Hargrove authorized it, Kira said, verbally, off the record, which gives us plausible deniability, but no legal protection for you. I'm aware. And during this unauthorized infiltration, you discovered plans for a terrorist attack on Fort Bragg. 6 suicide bombers, targeting the change of command ceremony. Yes. But you didn't call it in immediately. Instead, you confronted General Dutton directly. I was gathering intelligence. Or you were trying to save him. Patterson leaned forward. General Dutton was your father's mentor. You've known him since you were 10 years old. That's a conflict of interest. I did my job. Did you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you compromised an active investigation by going rogue. Kira kept her face neutral. She'd been through worse interrogations. Taliban safe houses, cartel dungeons. This was just paperwork with attitude. The Pentagon representative cleared his throat. Agent Patterson, Petty Officer Ashford's actions prevented a massacre. Perhaps we should focus on that. With respect, sir, she also violated about a dozen federal laws and military regulations. We can't just ignore that because the outcome was favorable. Can't we? The man smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. I think you'll find that we can. This entire incident is being classified. The attack that never happened, the general who never betrayed us, the operators who were never sold. As far as official records are concerned, General Frank Dutton is retiring due to health reasons. The end. Patterson's jaw tightened. That's a cover-up. That's national security. The American people don't need to know how close we came to a domestic terrorist attack orchestrated by one of our own generals. It would undermine faith in the military, in the government, in everything we're supposed to protect. So we just lie. We protect. There's a difference. Patterson stood. I want it on record that I object to this decision. Noted, you're dismissed. The FBI agent left. So did the DOJ lawyer. The Pentagon man remained. He waited until the door closed. Then he turned to Kira. That was well done. The whole operation. Textbook. Thank you, sir. But you need to understand something. What happened with Dutton, the grief, the rage, the betrayal that could happen to anyone, even you, especially you. Sir, you've been operational for 8 years, 47 confirmed kills, more missions than most operators see in 15 years. And you're 28 years old. That's a lot of weight to carry. I can handle it. Can you? Because the psych eval from Syria tells a different story. PTSD, survivor's guilt, recurring nightmares about the teenage suicide bomber you killed. Kira said nothing. I'm not saying you're unstable, the man continued. I'm saying you're human, and humans break. Dutton broke. Your father would have broken eventually. Everyone does if you push them hard enough. What's your point, sir? My point is this: take the 3 months mandatory leave we're giving you. Really take it. Don't just sit in that cabin cleaning your rifle and waiting for the next mission. Talk to someone. Process what happened. Make sure you don't end up like Dutton. I won't. He probably said the same thing. The man stood. You're dismissed, petty officer. And Kira, thank you for stopping him, for doing the hard thing. Your father would be proud. After he left, Kira sat alone in the briefing room. 3 months leave. Mandatory. Not a request. She should feel relieved. Grateful even. But all she felt was empty, like there was a hole where the mission used to be. She pulled out her phone, scrolled through contacts, stopped on one name, Wyatt Dutton. They'd exchanged numbers after Montana, a courtesy more than anything. But now, she called. He answered on the second ring. Kira, how's your father? A pause. He's adjusting. Prison isn't easy for a man like him, but he's alive. That's something. Can I see him? Because I need to understand. Understand what? How a good man becomes what he became. How someone who taught my father about honor ends up selling operators to cartels. I need to know if, she stopped. If it could happen to you. Yes. Wyatt was quiet for a moment. I'll arrange it. Tomorrow, Leavenworth, noon. Thank you. Kira, be prepared. He's not the man you remember. I know. But she didn't. Not really. The United States disciplinary barracks at Fort Leavenworth was maximum security. Concrete walls, guard towers, razor wire. The prison where the military sent its worst. Kira went through security, metal detector, pat down, ID check, everything short of a cavity search. Then she was led through a series of locked doors to the visitation area. Dutton was already there, sitting at a metal table bolted to the floor. Orange jumpsuit, handcuffs, a guard standing 10 feet away. He looked old, not just old, like the prison had aged him a decade in 3 months. Kira, his voice was rough. I didn't think you'd come. Neither did I. She sat across from him. The table between them felt like an ocean. How are you? He laughed, no humor in it. I'm in prison for treason. How do you think I am? I know what you meant, and I appreciate the courtesy. But let's not pretend this is a social call. You're here because you want answers, so ask. Kira took a breath. When did you decide? When did you go from mentor to traitor? The day they handed me Wyatt's flag. Dutton's eyes went distant. I stood there in my dress uniform, listened to them talk about honor and sacrifice, and all I could think was, my son is dead. My son is dead because someone in Washington made a mistake, and nobody will pay for it. Nobody ever pays. So you made them pay. I tried, sold 6 operators to cartels, planned to bomb Fort Bragg, expose every lie the Pentagon ever told. He looked at her. But you stopped me, just like Phantom would have. Don't compare me to my father. Why not? You're exactly like him. Same eyes, same moral certainty, same belief that doing the right thing matters. It does matter. Does it? Dutton leaned forward. The handcuffs clinked against the table. I did everything right, served 40 years, earned my stars through blood and sacrifice. And when my son died, they gave me a flag and a pension. That's what right gets you, a folded piece of cloth and empty words. Your father believed in a lie, just like I did, just like you still do. The only difference is he died before he figured it out. The words hit like a slap. Kira felt anger rising, hot, sharp. My father died doing his duty, protecting his men. That's not a lie, that's honor. Honor is what we call it when we send good men to die for bad reasons. Your father died because some intel analyst made a mistake, because command ignored reports about IEDs on that road, because the mission was more important than the men. Dutton's voice dropped. You want to know when I decided to betray everything? It was at his funeral. Standing next to you while they played taps, watching you cry, and realizing that in 20 years you'd be the one in the coffin. And some other little girl would be crying, and nothing would change. Nothing ever changes. Kira stood. I shouldn't have come. Sit down. No. Sit down. The command voice, the general's voice. You came here for answers. I'm giving them to you. The least you can do is listen. She sat, but her hands were fists under the table. Dutton continued. You asked when I became a traitor. The truth is, I don't know. Maybe it was gradual. Years of watching good men die. Years of seeing politicians send soldiers into meat grinders for oil and opium. Years of pretending it all meant something. He paused. Or maybe it was all at once. That moment at Wyatt's funeral when I realized the system I'd devoted my life to had killed my son. Either way, I crossed a line. And once you cross it, you can't go back. Yes, you can. You can stop, turn around, do better. Can you? Because I don't think you can. I think once you start down that road, once you compromise your principles for what seems like a good reason, it gets easier each time. You tell yourself it's necessary, justified. And before you know it, you're selling men you trained to cartels, planning to bomb your own base, becoming exactly what you swore to fight. That won't happen to me. Won't it? Dutton's eyes were hard. You've already killed 47 people. How many of them deserved it? Really deserved it? Or were they just names on a list someone handed you? I had confirmed intelligence. You had orders, just like the people who killed Wyatt had orders. Just like the analyst who sent your father into that IED had orders. We all have orders. We all think we're doing the right thing, and we're all wrong. Kira's phone buzzed. She ignored it. You know what the real tragedy is, Dutton said. It's not that I fell. It's that I took 6 operators with me. 6 men and women who trusted the system, who believed they were serving something greater than themselves. And I sold them, literally sold them, because I was angry, because I was broken, because I wanted someone to hurt the way I was hurting. You could have stopped at any point. Could I? Once Hayes was gone, Rodriguez was easier. Once Rodriguez was gone, the next was easier still. It's like killing. The first one haunts you. The second one bothers you less. By the 10th, it's just routine. He looked at his hands, the handcuffs. That's what scares me about you, Kira. You've got 47 kills. 47. You're already numb to it. Already routine. What happens when you hit 100, 200? When do you become me? Never, Dim. You can't know that. I can, because I have something you lost. Something my father had until the day he died. What's that? A reason to fight, not revenge, not rage. But the belief that protecting people matters, that every person I save, every civilian, every refugee, every soldier, that's a victory. That's why I do this. Not to kill, to protect. Dutton was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled. And, tired, you really believe that? Yes. Then you're stronger than me. Stronger than Phantom, maybe, because he questioned too, near the end. I could see it in his eyes, the doubt, the wondering if any of it mattered. He never said he wouldn't. Not to you. You were his daughter, his pride. But we talked. late nights, after missions, and he was starting to see the cracks, the system eating itself. Dutton leaned back. If he'd lived another 5 years, he might have ended up right here, next to me. Two old operators who'd seen too much and broken. No, he wouldn't. You can't know that either. The guard approached. Time's up. Kira stood, started to leave. Kira, Dutton called. She stopped, turned. I'm glad Wyatt's alive. I'm glad the attack failed. I'm glad you stopped me. Because you were right. Killing 300 people wouldn't have fixed anything. It would have just created more pain. More families destroyed. More operators carrying guilt. I know. But I'm not sorry I tried. Does that make sense? I'm glad I failed. But I'm not sorry I tried. Because for a moment, just a moment, I felt like I was doing something. Fighting back against the machine that killed my son. That felt good, even if it was wrong. Kira didn't know what to say to that, so she just nodded and left. Outside, the sun was too bright, the air too clean, the world too normal. Her phone buzzed again. She checked it. Hargrove. She called back. Sir? Kira, how'd it go? How'd what go? The visit. With Dutton. I know you went. I approve the request. It went. That bad. He's broken, but he knows it. I guess that's something. It is. Most people who break don't have that much self-awareness. Hargrove paused. Listen, I know you're on mandatory leave, but something's come up. Syria, American hostages. We need a sniper, and you're the best we have. Sir, I'm not cleared for operations. The psych eval. I know what the psych eval says. I also know you just stopped a domestic terrorist attack and captured a rogue general. You're fine. The Pentagon disagrees, and the Pentagon can disagree all they want. This is JSOC. We run our own ops, and I'm telling you I need you. Those hostages need you. Are you in? Kira looked at the prison, at the walls and wire and everything they represented. Dutton was in there because he'd let his pain turn into rage, let his rage turn into violence, let his violence consume everything he'd once stood for. She could feel the same weight, the same pressure. 47 kills, 8 years of war, the nightmares that never stopped. But she also felt something else, purpose. The hostages in Syria hadn't done anything wrong. They were journalists, doctors, aid workers, people trying to help, and they were going to die unless someone saved them. She could be that someone, not because it was easy, not because it was safe, but because it was right. I'm in, she said. Good. Briefing's at 1800. Don't be late. She hung up, got in her truck, started driving. But instead of heading to Fort Bragg, she went west, toward the mountains, toward home. The cabin was exactly as she'd left it, cold, empty, waiting. She built a fire, made coffee, sat on the porch watching the sunset over the lake. Her father's photo was inside, on the mantle, same place it had always been. She went in, picked it up. Dad, she said aloud, I met with Dutton today. He said you were starting to doubt, starting to question whether any of this mattered. Was he right? The photo didn't answer, never did. But she could almost hear his voice. That day at the range, the last real conversation they'd had before he deployed. Kira, sometimes I wonder if we're making a difference. If all the fighting, all the sacrifice actually changes anything. And you know what I realized? What? It doesn't matter. Not the big picture, not the politics or the oil or the reasons politicians give. What matters is this: every time I pull that trigger, I'm choosing. I'm choosing to protect someone, choosing to stop a threat, choosing to be the wall between the innocent and the wolves. And that choice, that moment of decision, that's what makes us human. That's what makes us good. Not the killing, the choice to protect. What if you make the wrong choice? Then you live with it, learn from it, try to do better next time. That's all any of us can do. Kira set the photo down. She understood now. What Dutton had lost, what her father had kept. It wasn't certainty. It wasn't knowing you were right. It was the willingness to try, to choose protection over revenge, to fight for something instead of against it everything. Dutton had forgotten that. Somewhere between Wyatt's funeral and the first operator he sold, he'd stopped fighting for anything. Started fighting against everything. And that's what had broken him. Kira wouldn't make that mistake. She packed her gear. Remington 700, Glock 19, K-bar, the tools of her trade, but also her father's photo, the knife Dutton had given her, the reminders of who she was, where she came from, what she stood for. At 17:30, when was in her truck, heading back to Fort Bragg. At 1800, she walked into the briefing room. Hargrove was there. So was a JSOC tactical team. 6 operators, the best of the best, maps on the wall, satellite imagery, target building in Damascus, 3 hostages, 12 guards, high-value target and ISIS commander using the hostages as human shields. The shot's 2,000 yards, Hargrove said. Urban environment, wind, heat shimmer, vehicle traffic. It's the hardest shot on the board. I can make it, Kira said. I know you can. Question is, should you? The psych eval says you're not ready, that you need more time. The psych eval is wrong. Is it because Dutton probably said the same thing right before he went off the rails? Kira met his eyes. I'm not Dutton. I'm not broken. I'm not looking for revenge. I'm here because 3 people need help, and I'm the best chance they have. Hargrove studied her, looking for cracks, or for doubt, for the signs that she was one mission away from falling apart. He didn't find any. Okay, he said finally. You're the primary shooter. We leave in 2 hours. Get your gear. The flight to Jordan took 14 hours. From there, a helicopter to the Syrian border. Then overland in blacked-out vehicles to the staging area. They arrived at 0300 local time, set up in an abandoned building 6 blocks from the target. Kira assembled her rifle, checked the scope, ran calculations for wind temperature, barometric pressure. 2,000 yards, in urban terrain, with hostages at risk. It was the hardest shot she'd ever attempted, but she'd trained for this, lived for this. At 0530, the sun started to rise, golden light spreading across Damascus. Beautiful, even in a war zone. She settled into position, rifle on bipod, eye to scope, breathing controlled. The target building came into focus. 3rd floor, window open. She could see the hostages, 3 people, bound, scared. She could see the guards, rotating shifts, predictable patterns, and she could see the commander. ISIS leadership, responsible for attacks across Europe, hiding behind civilians like a coward. Angel, this is Reaper, Hargrove's voice in her ear. We have green light for the shot. Repeat green light. Target is the commander. Minimize collateral damage. Copy, Kira said. She waited, breathing, heartbeat, the space between seconds. The commander moved to the window, looked out at the city he was destroying. Kira's finger found the trigger. She thought about her father, about Dutton, about the 16-year-old girl in Syria, about every choice that had led her to this moment. She could pull the trigger, kill the commander, save the hostages. Or she could walk away, go home, try to find peace in a world that didn't seem to have any. It wasn't really a choice. She'd made it years ago, the day she decided to become a SEAL, to follow in her father's footsteps, to be the wall between the innocent and the wolves. She exhaled, slow, controlled, squeezed the trigger. The rifle kicked. The round flew. 2,000 yards, 3 seconds of flight time, through wind and heat and the chaos of the city. The commander's head snapped back. He dropped. Target down, Kira said. Sajjane. Hostages are clear. Send the extraction team. Copy that, Angel. Good shooting. The tactical team moved in. 30 seconds later, the hostages were secured. Alive. Safe. Kira broke down her rifle. Packed it away. Another mission complete. Another life saved. 48 confirmed kills now. She waited for the guilt, the doubt, the voice in her head asking if it was worth it. It didn't come, because she knew, deep in her bones, this was what she was meant to do. Not the killing, the protecting. And as long as there were people who needed protecting, she'd be there. Not because it was easy, because it was right. 3 months later, for real this time, Kira sat on her dock at Lake Tahoe. The Syria mission had gone into the record books. Perfect shot, 0 collateral damage. The hostages were home with their families. She'd been offered a promotion, a position training new SEAL recruits. She'd turned it down because the field was where she belonged, where she could make a difference. Her phone rang, unknown number. She answered. Ashford. Kira, it's Wyatt. How's your father? He's better. They're reducing his sentence. 20 years instead of life. Because he cooperated, gave up his network, helped us find the last 2 operators alive. That's good. He wants to see you one more time before they transfer him to minimum security. Wipe-a-yane. He said he owes you an apology, a real one. Kira thought about it. Then tell him I forgive him, but I don't need to hear it. He should save his apologies for the families of the operators he sold. They're the ones who deserve it. I'll tell him. A pause. And Kira, thank you for stopping him, for giving me my father back. Even if he's in prison, at least he's alive. At least I can see him. You're welcome. She hung up, looked at her father's photo. I think I understand now, she said. Why you did it. Why you kept fighting even when you had doubts. It's not about the big picture. It's about the moments, the choices, the individual lives you save. The photo smiled back at her. Her phone rang again. Hargrove. She already knew what he was going to say. Sir? Ashford, got a situation. Yemen, high-value target. We need the best. When do I leave? Tomorrow, 0600. I'll be there. She hung up, smiled, stood, walked inside, started packing. Because this was who she was, who she'd always been, who she'd always be. Kira Lynn Ashford, daughter of Dane Phantom Ashford, Navy SEAL sniper, Angel, and she was just getting started.